This is The Perfect Being. I'm here to tell you all to subscribe to the perfect channel, Unreal End Gaming. Please remember to turn on your notifications to be the first to know about the latest in Dragon Ball news and information. And if you don't, very soon you will all be dead, along with your entire planet.
The Tournament of Power continues as Universe 7's Gohan battles up against Universe 6's Botamo in an epic battle to test Gohan's strength, alongside battling up against some of Universe 10's warriors as well, all while Ribrianne looks to get revenge against Android 17, while we get to notice Hit trying to leave his mark on the Universe 11 Pride Troopers, as next week's episode is going to be building up and having Hit struggle against some of Universe 11's fighters, and seeing the return of Super Saiyan God. Ever since following Battle of Gods, we've never seen the form in its entirety return, and with having to follow such an engaging episode, next week's episode is looking to be a very promising one. What's going on, Dragon Ball fans? Welcome to my Dragon Ball Super episode 103 breakdown review entitled Gohan Show No Mercy, Showdown against Universe number 10, leading into next week's exciting episode of Hit having to team up with Goku in Dragon Ball Super episode 104. And I do want to say, guys, again, if you guys are new to this channel, then be sure to go on ahead and punch that subscribe button and turn on notifications. That way you guys can be notified whenever a Dragon Ball video is posted onto this channel. Hashtag notification squad. Dragon Ball Super episode 103 is now officially in the history books, as finally we get an episode involving Gohan and seeing more or less what he's capable of in having to battle against Universe number 10 and some of Universe number 6's fighters as well, as we move on to the preview for Dragon Ball Super episode 104, in which I will give my predictions alongside my friend Emish in the predictions video. But as I said before, the leaked image of Goku standing with Hit was of course from Fuji TV, and it was an unfinished picture, as we get to see in the preview God Goku and Hit are going to be fighting Dispo and the other Frog Pride Trooper, as we also get to see Jiren very momentarily be featured. He seems to be looking down, maybe he's observing Dispo and the other Pride Trooper having to fight Hit and Goku, but the point is, Dispo, we get to see Dispo actually on the offensive against Goku and kicking him really far away during one shot, as Goku was able to grab one of Dispo's punches during that scene. And during the overall preview, we also get to see how Hit looks very battle damaged. So I've taken a huge interest in watching next week's episode, just because I don't ever recall Hit looking like this, aside from probably fighting Kaioken times 10 Goku. But aside from that, I'm going to share my predictions with Emish in the next video. But overall, looking at this episode, the ending was depressing for all of us. Now, reasons why it was depressing was because finally, at long last, Universe number 9 has been erased, and Universe number 10 was the second universe to get erased. Now, going back to one thing I do want to point out here is the Angel. Now, the Angel in this episode, unlike Mojito, she was very sad. She was very sad and she was very depressed when she saw Ramush and Gowasu be erased. And unlike Mojito, who was happy, who was said never to like his god or Kaioshin to begin with, we saw here how I don't think that the definitive plan of the Angels having to be evil is actually true. Because don't you think that if the Angels did have some sort of sinister motive, that we would have seen something from this particular Angel and being happy or just cracking a smile or something? No, she was very sad, and that was a very depressing moment to see, because finally, you know, the last member that was on Universe number 10's team happened to be defeated by Gohan. Now, the reason why it was so sad is because Gohan, after ringing out this fighter, he looked down and there was this small little locket, and in the locket was the picture of the fighter he just ringed out and his family, his wife and his baby. So, you know, having to look at that, it's do or die, it's kill or be killed, it's your family versus my family. And, you know, for Gohan's sake, what better way to have the team leader and the family man having to ring out someone with a family? So it's kill or be killed, and I firmly believe, as if down the line, this may not be the case with the universe having to be permanently erased. However, I do think that with that being said, Gohan had such a emotional look on his face because he closed his eyes and Piccolo said let's go, and they walked off, because Gohan knew he had to do what he had to do in order to preserve his existence and his family's as well. So this episode as a whole, I don't really have too many gripes with it, aside from probably the animation towards the end, because if you look at the animation in the beginning, right, it was good in my opinion, it was really good, and then towards the end, it started getting a little lackluster with Piccolo's hands having to look like Mr. Krabs' arms and stuff. It was just really weird. And aside from that, what I also noticed was they kept reusing the same animation from when Universe 9 was destroyed, various different animations, and I just don't understand why. Can anyone please answer that question as to why they keep reusing the same animation? It's not like the worst thing in the world. It's not a crime against humanity, but it's just, it sparks my curiosity as to why can't they simply design brand new animation for these kinds of things? You know, why do we have to see reused animation? Even from when the Omni King lifted up his hands and when he destroyed Universe number 9, he says yes and then squish, and then here he said something different, and the same thing with the Grand Priest having to, you know, look down and then look back up with that sinister look on his face, with everything practically having to be the same. So my only gripe for this is the fact that the animation was kind of reused, and it was like, okay, Goku had a couple of really unique spots as he was fighting against Rosie, and we saw the Yardrat. The Yardrat was finally put to use. I saw so many people talk about how the Yardrat was going to be God, how the Yardrat was going to be the MVP of this entire tournament. Well, for this particular scene, he kind of was, because Ribrianne and Rosie were by the edge of the ring as 17 and Goku were making their way towards them, and we saw the Yardrat pretty much emerge. He grabbed them, used instant transmission, and they were gone. So finally, we have use of the Yardrat, because thus far he hasn't done anything. So, you know, I'm actually kind of happy to see that, because I didn't want to see him just get wrung out so easy. There was no sign, I think, any at all, from Universe number 3's fighters, that having to be Moscow, and Universe number 4's fighters. So those two universes are being saved for later. We understand going into next week's episode that Universe number 11, 6, and 7 are going to fight. No indication yet on Universe number 4 or 3, but either way, Universe number 10 was destroyed, having to follow up with Universe number 9. But here, I do want to say, 17 protected Goku using his barrier. So 17 is going to be a person that I think is going to have to fight someone equal to or greater than Excalibur to be ringed out, because in this episode, he had no trouble against Ribrianne at all, and if anyone out there firmly believed that he was, you were smoking some heavy Namek Kush, because there was no way in my heart of hearts that I could have believed that Ribrianne was going to do heavy damage to 17. If anything, he was holding his own very, very well. We didn't see anything from Roshi that much. We didn't see anything from Android 18. It was primarily Piccolo a little bit with Gohan. Primarily Gohan having to ring out Botamo, and the way he ringed out Botamo was pretty cool, because as we see Gohan punching Botamo, he kept punching him and punching him and punching him, and Botamo, little by little, his feet started to move back. So Champa was like, Botamo, do something, and he was very angry on this entire idea of seeing Botamo having to get pushed back. But Botamo eventually was pushed back to the point where we see him by the edge of the ring, and finally when Gohan ringed them out, we see how Botamo, he went out like a warrior. He pretty much, you know, fired off a blast, a greenish-like blast, and as it was going towards Gohan's direction, Gohan pretty much deflected the entire blast with one hand, and down goes Botamo. So Universe 6 has lost their very first fighter, which is good, because now we get to pretty much go further into the tournament with seeing Universe 6 involved that much more, with the unknown Namekians, with the unknown Boar fighter, the Doctor, and whatnot. So I want to see more from Universe number 6 now that Botamo has been ringed out. And with that, I also want to point out the fact that Universe number 2, I do believe, may be the next universe to get erased, because right now they don't really have too many fighters left. They have a few regarding the Yardrat and Rosie and Ribrianne, but even with that being said, I only think that Ribrianne is the best suited one on the team, aside from probably the Yardrat. But you can't sit there and tell me that Goku himself can't handle the Yardrat, because the Yardrat alone, I think, he'd be fodderized by Goku if Goku were to try hard enough in using his instant transmission against the Yardrats. And plus his skill and his honing ability, I do think that Goku does possess a bit more qualities about him that are superior than the Yardrats. So either way, I'm hoping to see that instant transmission versus instant transmission. It's not the first time we've ever seen instant transmission versus instant transmission. We've seen that with Cooler and Goku. We've seen that with Majin Buu, especially Kid Buu, because Kid Buu does know instant transmission after he was able to pick up on the fact that Goku and Vegeta were raising their powers, so that's why he was able to get to the Supreme Kai World using instant transmission. So in my personal opinion, I think that this episode was better than last week's, only for the simple fact that, number one, we saw more from Gohan than anything else. last week's was good in seeing 17 fight off a couple of people, even though early on 17 didn't get serious until like towards the end of the episode, which was weird because it's like 17 only looked good by the end of it, because early on he was getting like clawed to hell by this one fighter and he wasn't able to escape that, but even after, he was able to take everything serious and making the episode that much more enjoyable. But going into here, we didn't see anything from Vegeta, we didn't see anything from, you know, Caulifla or Kale, we haven't seen anything from Jiren either, so a lot of people are saying, oh man, the episode was trash and whatnot. I don't really think that people grasp the idea of having to take things slow. I understand that we all want to see a revolutionary battle between like Hit and Goku, Jiren and Vegeta, Frieza and Hit, Goku and Jiren. I get that, but those fights are being saved for later, because now, as I've been telling you guys for weeks, for months, we have to get rid of all of the fodderized characters first, the characters that aren't on the same tier as God Goku, as Toppo, as Jiren and stuff. So with that, universe number 10 was gone, and going into next week's episode, we get to see a little preview of just simply having Jiren look down, and what I'm guessing here is that he's going to be very observant of what's happening on the battlefield. So ultimately enough, I do think that by the end of it, when it's all said and done, we may see him involved, you know, in some way, shape, or form in either protecting somebody or doing something to stop somebody. However, we see Hit, and what concerns me the most is how injured he is. How is he this injured? And who's the one that did it? I'm guessing it's going to be Dispo and the Frog, because those two dudes are the only ones seemingly enough giving him a tough time, because even during One Instincts, there was a part where he was by the edge of the ring until Goku made the save. So this episode was pretty much a build up to that, as we didn't see anything from Dispo or Hit, aside from them staring each other down at the very end. But I think that this episode pretty much capitalized on one message, and that was Gohan having to take no prisoners and having to do what he had to do to get people out. Again, there weren't any over, you know, complicated things to witness here. There wasn't anything too groundbreaking. The fights as a whole, I think, were really well done. I just loved 17's barrier. I really enjoyed his brief little momentary encounter with Ribrianne. Even though I feel like Ribrianne should have been ringed out, I want to know your thoughts in the comment section below. What are your overall thoughts on this episode? What are your overall thoughts on the ending? How the angel was seen to be very sad. A lot of people were saying, man, the angels are evil and stuff, and I pretty much said, even if that was the case, I don't see all of them being evil, because there are some angels that actually give a damn, and we saw this female angel having to be one of them, and she really did care. But it pertains to the fights and pertains to the animation. What are your overall thoughts on everything that occurred? What are your overall thoughts on Gohan having to ring out Botamo the way he did, and having to ring out the other Universe 10 fighter as well? What would you guys have done if you was in his position? Comment down below, let me know, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. If you guys are new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, guys, and turn on notifications. That way you guys can be notified whenever a Dragon Ball video is posted onto this channel. Hashtag notification squad. If you guys enjoyed the review, go on ahead and leave a like down below. If you guys are ready for next week's episode, go on ahead and slap a like down below. The thing that gets me excited the most is the fact that next week we're going to get massive amounts of build-up. And as I said yesterday, I pretty much put out a leaked image of Goku and Hit standing side by side, and there were so many people that were crying out, fake, 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 and then towards the end of the preview in this episode, we finally got to see it. So I can't wait to read the comments from all the salty people that were originally crying out fake, because it wasn't a fake. The original image that we saw was a screenshot from Fuji TV, and the animation itself wasn't even finished. I mean, the overall progress of having Goku and Hit during that little scene wasn't even finished. So having it be done and seeing that before our very eyes in this episode made a lot of sense, and to me it made me happy, because this goes back to the whole Buff Caulifla thing. When that was first announced, a lot of people were saying, oh, this is fake, you know, Caulifla can't be buff, and then we finally saw it in the episode, and now here we get to see Hit and Goku stand together. But here's the thing, do you guys think that Dispo is stronger than Super Saiyan God? Because there was one case where Dispo kicked Goku really, really far, and pretty much what this tells me, and what this screams at me, is this screams Goku versus Beerus rematch. I mean, that's what it looks like in a way, and although it's really not, it feels as if Goku's fighting Beerus again, just because of how Dispo looks and stuff, even though Dispo is nowhere near comparative to Beerus as a god or any other, you know, tier-like level in terms of power and stuff. Dispo is nowhere near comparable. However, there is something about Dispo that we all need to pay attention to and be aware of, because it looks like he's one of the only people here that truly does have an effective way on battling people and demonstrating his power further. So I want to know your take on Dispo, and why is it that you guys believe that, you know, someone like Hit is damaged? Comment down below, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. If you guys are new, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, guys. Tune back in for more. Let the Dragon Ball hype continue, and I'll be seeing you all down in the comment section below. Have a wonderful day, guys. Peace.